Imagine you're walking alone through a prehistoric forest. The morning feels peaceful. Birds are singing from every direction. Insects buzz through the warm air. Leaves gently sway in the wind. Everything feels alive. Then, every bird suddenly stops singing. The forest falls completely silent. No chirping. No fluttering wings. Nothing. 20,000 years ago, that silence could have meant only one thing. Something dangerous had entered the forest. Long before humans invented maps, weapons of steel, or written language, our ancestors relied on nature itself to stay alive. They didn't just watch animals, they listened to them. A single frightened bird could reveal a hidden predator. A flock suddenly taking flight could warn of danger long before human eyes ever noticed it. Ignoring those signs wasn't simply careless. It could be fatal. So why did ancient humans pay such close attention to birds? And why do many people today still feel uneasy when nature suddenly goes quiet? The answer reaches back to the earliest days of human survival. For ancient humans, the forest was never truly silent. From sunrise until sunset, every corner of the wilderness produced sound. Birds called to each other from high branches. Insects filled the air with a constant buzz. Frogs croaked beside rivers. Small mammals rustled through fallen leaves while monkeys shouted from distant trees. These sounds created more than background noise. They formed a living map of the environment. Our ancestors learned that when nature behaved normally, the forest was usually safe enough to travel through. They could gather fruit, search for edible plants, collect firewood, or follow animal tracks while surrounded by the familiar soundtrack of life. But nature changes its behavior when danger appears. Modern biologists have observed that many bird species act as unofficial alarm systems. When they detect predators such as snakes, large cats, birds of prey, or unfamiliar intruders, they often produce warning calls unlike their normal songs. Some species immediately fly away, while others gather together and loudly alert every animal nearby. This behavior benefits not only the birds themselves but many other creatures sharing the same habitat. Although prehistoric humans left no written records, researchers believe our ancestors quickly learned to recognize these warning signals. Imagine a small hunting group moving carefully through a dense forest. One moment, colorful birds are singing above them. The next moment, dozens of wings burst into the air at once. The hunters immediately freeze. No one speaks. Everyone looks in the same direction. What frightened the birds? A leopard hiding in the tall grass? A giant snake climbing toward the nests? Or perhaps another group of humans approaching through the trees? The birds often noticed the danger first. In many ways, they became the eyes and ears of the forest. Human senses are remarkable, but they have limits. Dense vegetation blocks vision. Strong winds carry away sense. Darkness hides movement. Birds, however, spend their lives watching from above. From high branches they see disturbances across large areas that humans walking on the ground would completely miss. By paying attention to bird behavior, our ancestors gained access to information they could never collect alone. This habit may have saved countless lives. Even today, experienced hunters, wildlife photographers, and forest guides frequently listen to birds before looking with their eyes. A sudden explosion of frightened birds often means something has disturbed the forest. Sometimes it is only a deer. Sometimes it is another person. And sometimes it is a predator. Scientists studying tropical forests have found that mixed groups of birds often react together when danger approaches. One species begins calling, and within seconds the warning spreads through the surrounding trees like an invisible chain reaction. Imagine living thousands of years before modern technology. No radios. No binoculars. No drones. No satellite maps. Birds became one of the earliest warning networks humans ever encountered. Our ancestors were not simply surviving in nature. They were learning its language. This relationship likely shaped human intelligence in subtle ways. The better someone recognized natural patterns, the greater their chances of surviving. Children who learned which bird calls signaled danger may have reached adulthood more often than those who ignored them. Generation after generation, this knowledge passed from parents to children without books or classrooms. It became part of culture, part of survival. Birds also revealed opportunities. A flock feeding in one area often suggested fresh water, fruit-bearing trees, or abundant insects. Circling birds sometimes indicated the location of large animals, whether alive or dead. Every sound carried information. Ancient humans were constantly listening. Today, many of us have lost that connection. Modern cities drown natural sounds beneath engines, traffic, and machines. Few people notice birds unless they become unusually loud. Yet our brains still react to unexpected silence. Have you ever walked through a forest where everything suddenly became quiet? Many people describe an immediate feeling that something isn't right. That instinct may not be imagination. It may be an ancient survival response inherited from ancestors who depended on nature's warning system for hundreds of thousands of years. Researchers in evolutionary psychology suggest that humans evolved to notice sudden changes in the environment rather than constant conditions. Continuous bird songs become normal. When they disappear instantly, the brain asks a simple question. Why? That question once determined life or death. Perhaps that is why complete silence still captures our attention today. Even horror movies frequently use this ancient instinct. Directors often remove background sounds just before danger appears. Without realizing it, audiences become tense because their brains interpret silence as a warning. The technique works because it speaks to instincts far older than cinema itself. Long before stories were written, the forest had already taught humanity the meaning of silence. And the birds were among its greatest teachers. The next time you hear birds singing during a walk in nature, remember that your ancestors would have heard much more than beautiful music. They heard information. They heard reassurance. They heard life continuing exactly as it should. And if those songs suddenly stopped, they knew it was time to stop walking, stop talking, and start listening. For ancient humans, every bird call carried meaning. It wasn't just another sound in the forest. It was nature speaking. Those who learned to understand its warnings were more likely to survive, protect their families, and pass that knowledge to the next generation. Thousands of years later, the forests have changed, but perhaps a small part of that instinct still lives inside all of us. If you enjoyed uncovering this forgotten piece of human history, don't forget to subscribe to *Ancient Unlocked. Every week, we explore the mysteries, survival stories, and hidden truths of our ancient past. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next journey into history.